Unveiling the hidden forces that leave you tired, the brutal truth about spiritual warfare. On an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, everything seemed just fine. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the sleepy town of Cedar Creek. But beneath the surface, a dark undercurrent pulsed. People whispered on street corners about a mysterious phenomenon draining their energy, despite no logical explanation. Mothers snapped at their kids, workers stumbled through their shifts, and even the mailman seemed to deliver letters more slowly, as if weighed down by an unseen force. It was as if a sinister hand reached into the very hearts of the townsfolk, tightening its grip, leaving them weary and confused. In the shadows of the old oak tree at the park, local teenagers huddled together, their laughter a high-pitched alert that felt almost out of place. "Did you hear about Mr. Johnson?" One girl gasped, her wide eyes glimmering with fear. "He swears he saw his reflection smile back at him when he wasn't he." "What does that even mean?" The others gasped, amusement turning to unease in an instant. What was going on? The air felt electric, thick with something unexplainable. Even the crows cawed in a way that seemed charged, as though they, too, sensed the weight of something sinister lurking around the corners. Then there was Claire, an unassuming librarian who had been keeping her distance from the eerie happenings. Late nights slipped by as she unearthed pages from dusty tomes, desperately searching for answers. She had come across mentions of dark entities and spiritual warfare. The more she read, the more convinced she became, something wicked was brewing. With each new discovery, her heart raced, a mix of thrill and terror coursing through her veins. She felt as if she was standing on the edge of a cliff, peering into an abyss where nightmarish visions danced just out of reach. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she dove deeper, her suspicions began to take shape. Friends from high school started experiencing nightmares, oddly synchronized, like clockwork. Every night at 3 a.m., all their dreams became twisted reflections of their fears, echoing in dark chambers of their minds. It couldn't be just coincidence, could it? A tight knot formed in Claire's stomach. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Was it paranoia, or was something genuinely lurking, waiting to pounce? In Cedar Creek, the storm was brewing. People began gathering at the diner, exchanging worried glances as they tried to make sense of the madness. "Did you see the news? 4 kids vanished last week." Someone exclaimed, eyes wide, urgency vibrating from glass to glass. A wave of murmurs spread like wildfire. Faces gripped with disbelief, hearts pounding, they realized they were part of something much bigger than themselves, something dark and consuming. And so, they made a pact to uncover the truth, without knowing the lengths they'd have to go or the dangers that awaited them. Would they dare to confront the hidden forces that left them all so tired? What horrors lay ahead? The diner buzzed with tension, conversations blending into a murmur of fear. Claire felt it in her bones. The heartbeat of Cedar Creek was racing, thrumming with anxiety. It was time to take a stand. As she shared her findings, she watched their faces shift from disbelief to fright. "I think we're dealing with something supernatural," she said, her voice trembling just a hint. "The disappearing kids, the synchronized nightmares, it's all connected. We need to figure out where this dark force is coming from." A man at the end of the bar scoffed, shaking his head. "Supernatural? Come on, Claire. This is just life. Kids run away, people get tired. You think it's all some ancient evil?" But as he said it, his voice dropped, as if he feared the shadows could hear him, but Claire pressed on. "No, listen. It's not just in our heads. I found references to a local legend about a spirit that feeds on fear and despair. It's been awake, feeding on us." Nervous glances were exchanged. Then a voice broke the air, quieter but firm. "What do we do?" asked Lisa, a nurse whose face was paler than usual. The urgency in her eyes was palpable. If this is real, what can we possibly do against it? Around the table, heads shook in uncertainty, nervous laughter echoing the disbelief they couldn't fully hide. Yet, Claire sensed the fear coursing through them. It flickered just beneath the surface. Maybe we gather everyone. Arm ourselves with knowledge, Claire suggested, stifling her own rising panic. We need to educate the town, hold a meeting. We can't let this thing divide us. If it's feeding on fear, we need to fight back with unity. There was a moment of agreement, before splintering doubts returned. How could they go against something they didn't understand? What if it turned out to be more dangerous than they anticipated? A heavy silence fell, and Claire felt weight on her chest. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted the quiet hum of the diner. The front door swung open forcefully, startling everyone. The owner, Sam, stood breathless at the threshold, his eyes wild. "They're back! I saw them!" he exclaimed. "Saw who?" Claire's heart hammered. "The kids! I swear! I saw them in the cemetery. They're not themselves." Sam's voice shook, and a ripple of dread coiled in the air. The group surged towards him, the fear palpable as they absorbed his words. "What do you mean, not themselves?" Claire asked, swallowing hard. They were smiling. But it wasn't right. Their faces twisted, like puppets. Something was wrong, Claire. Panic ignited in the room, as people began to murmur. The crows outside cawed loudly, as if echoing the mounting chaos inside. Claire gripped the edge of the counter, feeling the bile rise in her throat. "That's it. We need to go to the cemetery," she gasped, her voice finding strength. "If there's any truth to Sam's vision, we have to confront whatever is happening there." "But, what if it's dangerous?" Lisa protested, though her voice quivered with both fear and curiosity. "Then we face it together," Claire replied, her determination burning brighter. As they made their way out of the diner, the shadows seemed to stretch long and dark, as if reaching for them. The air grew thick with anticipation, each heartbeat a countdown to the unknown. And as they stepped into the cool night, a chilling breeze swept through Cedar Creek, whispering secrets of despair. What awaited them in the cemetery? Were the children really back, or was it merely an illusion crafted by something sinister? They were about to find out. The cemetery loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the moonlit sky. Claire felt her heart race, a mix of fear and determination thrumming in her veins. The air was thick, almost oppressive, as they stepped onto the graveled path winding through the rows of headstones. The wind rustled the leaves overhead, an eerie whisper that echoed the silent dread mounting in her chest. "Are you sure we should be doing this?" Lisa's voice was barely above a whisper, trembling with every syllable. "We can't back down now," Claire replied, trying to keep her voice steady. She turned to the group. Each face was a portrait of anxiety. Fear lingered in their eyes, a collective shadow. As they approached the center of the cemetery, Claire felt an unsettling chill creep in from every direction. The moon cast a ghostly glow on the abandoned graves, illuminating the overgrown grass that curled at their edges. Shadows danced eerily, shifting with the shifting light, and for a moment she swore she saw movement among the tombstones. "Do you see that?" Sam pointed towards a clump of graves, his face paling. Claire followed his gaze. A figure flickered in the darkness, a silhouette so familiar yet unsettlingly foreign. It was a child. One of the missing kids. Or at least, it seemed to be. She felt the chill slither down her spine as more shapes emerged from behind the stones, drawn like moths to a flame. The children's laughter drifted through the air, but it was sharp, grating, like nails on a chalkboard. Claire's blood ran cold. "This isn't right," she muttered, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of unsettling sounds encircling them. "Maybe we should go back," Lisa urged, her eyes wide with fear. "No!" Claire shouted, surprising herself with the intensity of her defiance. "We have to know what's happening here." She stepped forward, each movement feeling heavier, as if the ground was trying to pull her back. "Stay close." They crept forward, weapons of hope, batteries of smartphones, a baseball bat, even a rusty wrench held tightly in trembling hands. Claire felt nauseous as whispers filled the space around her, echoing words of despair and sorrow, spoken in voices she couldn't quite place. Then a shriek pierced the air, a chorus of laughter stopping abruptly. The children's faces twisted in grotesque expressions of joy and malice, their eyes wide and empty. Claire's heart raced, her instincts screaming to run, but she couldn't. She was frozen, ensnared by the unknown. "What do you want?" Claire called, desperation creeping into her voice. "Why are you here?" The children edged closer, their smiles widening to unnatural degrees, revealing too many teeth. The lead child shrugged, tilting his head as if to say, "Who says we want anything?" The others closed in, almost collisions amplifying the tension. Claire felt the collective fear of her friends wafting like fog. It clouded her thoughts. Suddenly, one stepped forward, her soft voice ethereal. "You joined us. Are you afraid?" A cold wave of dread washed over Claire. "What did you mean?" She managed to whisper, the words almost lost in the deafening silence surrounding them. "What if you're the next sacrifice?" The child giggled in a tone that sent shivers through Claire and her friends. They needed to escape, but the figures barricaded their exit, sinister shadows feeding on their trembling fear. Claire's mind raced. What if the stories were true? What if the kids weren't just lost but ensnared, puppets of something darker? She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and called out, "If you're trapped, we can help you." For a moment, the laughter halted, replaced by a deep, unsettling silence that only amplified her heartbeat. But the moment shattered when a voice, a deep, otherworldly echo rose above them. "Help? You think you can save them?" Panic flooded through Claire. What had she just unleashed? Fingers trembling, she turned to her friends, searching their faces for courage. What were they supposed to do now? And then, from the shadows, something grotesque began to emerge, twisting reality around them, ready to pounce. What were these children, these lost souls, even capable of? The question hung in the air as the figure approached, the sinister hunger palpable. Would they be consumed by fear, or would they find a way to confront the darkness enveloping Cedar Creek? Time seemed to stretch painfully thin. The air grew thick as the grotesque figure emerged from the shadows, taking form in the dim light. Claire's heart hammered in her chest, panic clawing at her throat. This was no child. The eyes were too sunken, the skin too pale. It was a creature of nightmare, a wraith wrapped in shadows that exuded malice. It towered over them, a silent testament to the darkness that lurked in Cedar Creek. "Run!" Claire screamed, but her voice felt like it was swallowed by the night. Her friends stood frozen, horror gripping them. Sam finally shattered the paralysis and grabbed Lisa's arm, yanking her back. "We need to go," he shouted, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence. Claire spun on her heels, heart racing as they sprinted through the graveyard. Every headstone loomed like a specter, every rustling leaf whispered taunts. The laughter with its twisted joy followed them, echoing in her mind like a freight train barreling down the tracks. "Where do we go?" Lisa gasped, glancing over her shoulder. The creature lingered, sliding into the shadows, but Claire felt its gaze, a cold weight on her back. "We find the entrance," Claire shouted, trying to sound resolute. In truth, she had no idea where she was running. The cemetery was a labyrinth of sorrow and despair, and they were trapped in it, running blind. "Split up and meet at the gate," Sam suggested, fear coursing through him as he led them through the maze. "We can't let it corner us." "Are you insane?" Claire hissed, but she knew they had to act fast. Her breath came in quick gasps, the frigid air stealing her warmth as panic surged within her. Sam sprinted left down a narrow path lined with even older gravestones while Lisa pressed on beside Claire. The shadows crept in, thick like smoke, wrapping around them, whispering secrets too terrible to hear. Then Claire spotted a small, weathered mausoleum ahead. "In there!" she urged, pulling Lisa towards it. They ducked inside, slamming the heavy door behind them. Inside, darkness cloaked them. Claire's heart raced as she fumbled for her phone, pulling it from her pocket. The meager light illuminated damp walls and cobwebs, shaping grotesque figures that danced before them. "Are we safe?" Lisa's voice trembled, fear evident in every syllable. Their breath echoed in the small space, filling the silence with anxiety. "I don't know," Claire whispered, her heart pounding as she leaned against the cool stone wall, trying to catch her breath. "We just need a moment to think." Suddenly, the previously solid door creaked ominously, like a whisper from the grave. It rattled, and Claire's gut twisted. There was no mistaking it, something was trying to force its way in. Outside, the laughter returned, louder this time. It was joined by a chorus of voices, echoes of lost souls they could no longer see. "Help us, help us!" they chanted in a mournful tone, haunting like a dirge. Claire felt her skin crawl. What do they want? The scratching grew relentless, claws scraping against the wood. "Claire, what if they are trying to pull us out?" Lisa's eyes widened in terror. "What if we're next?" Maybe they want us to see," Claire stammered, her mind racing. "What if they're luring us to their fate?" As the door splintered under the pressure, the group trembled, the weight of realization hanging heavy. They were not just running from a creature, they were entangled in a ritual far beyond their understanding. Then, a sudden crack echoed through the mausoleum as the door gave way, revealing the creature cloaked in shadows, taunting them like a puppet master. "My dear children," it hissed, voice like velvet draped over steel, "you've come to play. But will you be pawns or the next sacrifice?" Fear engulfed Claire as she met the hollow eyes of the creature. Nothing could prepare her for what would unfold next. And as the darkness seeped into her very being, she wondered, could they summon the strength to confront the ancient evil, or would they become part of the cemetery's tragic lore? The choice loomed over them like an impending storm, ready to unleash hell. The door fell open with a deafening crash, the darkness spilling in as the grotesque figure loomed before them, its presence swallowing all light. Claire's breath caught in her throat, her mind racing. The creature's hollow eyes bore into her, pulling at her very soul, as if it sought to extract her deepest fears. "Get back!" Sam shouted, pushing Claire and Lisa behind him, his bravado faltering under the weight of dread. He brandished the dull screen of Claire's phone like a feeble weapon, its glow barely penetrating the shadows. The creature stepped forward, shards of moonlight reflecting off its pallid skin. The laughter echoed again, taunting, a sickening symphony that spun around them. "You think you can escape?" it hissed, each word laced with malice. "These souls are mine to claim." Lisa clutched Claire's arm, nails digging in as they stood paralyzed, rooted in place as the air shrank around them. They were trapped, caught between the living and the damned, the walls of the mausoleum closing in. "Think, Claire. There must be something." Lisa panted, her voice a near wail above the cacophony. "What do we do?" Desperation turned Claire's gaze toward the dusty interior of the mausoleum. Shadows danced like phantoms along the walls, and in the corner, a flicker of something glinted. "There!" Claire pointed, directing their focus. "That's an ancient candle holder. Maybe it can help." "Are you crazy? There's no time." Sam's voice trembled, but Claire was already moving, her feet propelled by an instinct deeper than fear itself. She scrambled to it, fingers brushing over the frigid metal, cold as the grave. The creature surged closer, its form writhing, filling the air with a scent of decay. "You seek to wield forgotten power?" It chuckled darkly. "How quite light it!" Claire cried, urging Sam and Lisa. "Maybe it can push it back." With shaking hands, Sam grasped the old candle, fumbling to find a match in his pocket. Just as they heard the splinter of wood behind them the creature was pushing through, he struck it, the flame bursting to life with a hiss. The warmth fought against the encroaching chill. They gathered around, the glow casting flickering shadows that danced angrily around the walls. Claire felt an odd connection to the flame, a pulse of defiance. "Hold hands!" she commanded, her voice shaking but fierce. As their fingers intertwined, she felt a surge of energy. "Whatever this thing is, it feeds on fear. We have to believe we can push it away." The creature recoiled, its laughter turning to a howl of fury. "You think you can defy me?" it screamed, a sound that reverberated through the tomb like thunder. Claire closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of courage buried within her. "We have to believe," she shouted, the words spilling forth like a spell. "We won't let you take us." To her surprise, a wave of warmth shot through her, the candle's light brightening as if fueled by their resolve. Shadows flickered, writhing angrily but losing their grip on reality. The laughter morphed into a screech, bitter and terrifying, as the creature began to retreat, but just as victory felt near, it lashed out, clawing at the very fabric of their minds. Fools! You think this battle is won? It roared, its voice a chorus of anguished souls. I am not the end, just the beginning. Then, with one final surge, the creature lunged, and the light sputtered as darkness swirled, growing heavy around them. With a jolt, the walls pulsated, and Claire felt herself slipping, as if being pulled into another realm. Hold on! She screamed, facing the void that threatened to swallow them whole. But a distant scream pierced through the haze, a sound all too familiar, shaking Claire awake. Not you too! Claire gasped, panic clawing at her voice. There within the shadows loomed another figure, a child. The resemblance struck a debilitating blow, and Claire felt her heart plummet. No, not them! She cried, but the colored shadows merged, revealing the truth she feared to face. Who had they become? Whose sacrifice lay hidden in the depths of Cedar Creek? As darkness closed around their shouts, the candle flickered weak, the light waning, and the balance shifted. Claire's conviction faltered as the faces blurred, lost in despair, and beneath her breath, the chilling realization echoed: a choice was looming. Would they become the chasers or the hunted? Time was slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. The air thickened as the candle flickered weakly in their grasp, the shadows converging into a swirling torrent. Claire felt her heart race, despair clawing at the edge of her thoughts. The childlike figure wavered, its face too familiar yet twisted in a way that sent cold shivers down her spine. Claire, help me! The voice was small, like a whisper in a fierce storm. It wrapped around her like chains, anchoring her to the spot. No! I won't let you take her! Claire shouted, breaking through the heaviness. She squeezed Lisa's hand tighter, drawing strength from her presence. Focus on the light. We need it! Sam shouted, his voice trembling yet steadfast. The flickering candle became their thin shield against the encroaching darkness. The creature roared, an unholy sound that rattled the very stones of the mausoleum. You think the light will save you? It screeched as if clawing its way into her mind. You think your bonds mean anything in my realm? I will strip your courage bare. With every word, Claire felt a tightening in her chest, as if its claws were clawing at her all the way down to her soul. We are stronger together! She cried out, defying the encroaching despair. But in the shadows, the familiar child figure twisted further, merging with more forms, more faces, each one tugging at memories Claire was desperate to keep buried. Each figure smiled and reached out as if to comfort. The light can't protect you from what you've lost, no. Claire felt a surge of defiance. You don't get to rewrite my past. You're not real. The bright light of the candle flickered, dimming in response to her wavering confidence. She could feel the darkness rooting for her submission, as if waiting to engulf her completely. Believe in what we can be. Claire's voice was fierce now, a battle cry in the oppressive gloom. Her chest expanded as she remembered the warmth of laughter shared and the dreams that still flickered like distant stars. You won't take me. The shadows paused, faces contorting into grotesque masks of rage. The figures seemed to lunge closer, the air becoming thick with suffocating despair. Yet, Claire's resolve strengthened. She rallied the memories of what they had fought for, overriding the monster's pull. Light! She yelled. We are still here. And we will not fade. Lisa's grip tightened around her hand, and together they called upon the force of their belief. The candle's flame erupted, a bright beacon against the dark. But in that moment of clarity, the creature's form shimmered, revealing the twisted reality beneath. You will pay for this defiance. You think you control your fate? You are merely pawns in a game that you cannot fathom. It laughed, the sound a cacophony of despair that sliced through the rising hope. Then the ground trembled, vibrating with an otherworldly energy. Shadows wriggled, as their limits began to give way, pulling at Claire and her friends like the ocean tide. Claire fought against the stinging pain lancing through her mind, focusing hard on the candle, on the warmth that pushed through the cold of dread. Don't let go! She screamed, even as the shadows clawed and grasped at them. In that battle, a new realization burst forth like a crack of lightning. Sometimes, we have to confront the truth of what we fear most. Then, in a sudden burst of clarity, Sam yelled, "We have to face what we fear." With that word fear, they found their footing. They must embrace it, acknowledge it. The figures wavered, uncertainty creeping into the darkness. Claire, Sam, and Lisa grounded themselves, refusing to be merely hunted. A deafening silence fell for a heartbeat, before the shrieks blasted forth anew, raging against them. The shadows coiled and twisted, revealing hints of their own darkness, a mirror to Claire's own grapple with past mistakes. "Face what haunts," she shouted, drawing on every ounce of her strength. As they strained against the darkness, the candle's flame blazed higher, illuminating more than just their immediate space. It revealed forgotten pathways in the shadows, glimmers of escape, but just as they gathered momentum, a final, chilling hiss echoed, "This is not over yet." The candle's flame danced wildly, and in that moment, Claire realized that their struggle was far from finished. The true battle loomed ahead, one that could cost them everything. What dark truths awaited them on the other side of the light? And would they be able to conquer their own shadows before it was too late? The moment hung thick with tension. Clara's heart hammered in her chest, each beat echoing in her ears like a war drum. Sweat trickled down her brow as she stared at the shifting figures, horror intertwining with a fierce determination. The flickering flame of the candle roared, yet the shadows returned with a vengeance, relentless in their assault. "We have to keep moving," Sam urged, his voice cutting through the cacophony of howls and whispers clawing at their minds. They had ignited a spark of hope, but the darkness was now furious. Claire stepped forward, Lisa still firmly in her grip. "This way," she called out, her instincts driving her deeper into the maze of shadows. They had to find a way through, a way out. As they pressed on, images from Claire's past began to swirl around them, closer now, like moths drawn to a flame. Faces of loved ones, moments of laughter, now twisted into mocks of pain and regret. "No! You're not real!" she screamed, the words tearing from her throat. "You can't have us!" A rush of wind whipped through the mausoleum, casting a cold chill against her skin. The shadows swirled, the figures merging and separating in a dance of agony. Each facade sent a ripple of anguish through her. Claire fumbled for her next words, desperate to steady herself. "What we had, what we built is stronger than what you're showing us." Sam's voice broke through her haze. "Look! The light, it's revealing something." She turned her gaze back to the candle. The flame surged higher, illuminating the edges of a door, a wooden barrier half hidden in the gloom, its surface worn and ancient. Hope coursed through her veins. "There!" Claire pointed. "That's our way out." With newfound urgency, they hurried toward the door, the shadows thrashing around them like wild beasts in a cage. "It could be a trap." Lisa's voice trembled, but Claire shook her head. "It's a chance. We can't let fear hold us anymore." They reached the door, and Claire pushed with all her strength. It creaked outward, revealing a narrow passageway lined with flickering torches. Bright. A stark contrast against the lurking darkness, beckoning them forward. As they stepped through, the howls of anguish behind them crescendoed, an echo of the torment they were leaving behind. But with every step they took into the light, the fear dissipated, revealing an understanding, a clarity. They were escaping, but at what cost? "What if we're just running away?" Sam whispered, doubt creeping back into his voice. "What if it finds us again?" Claire paused, taking a breath. "Then we'll face it again. We know now that we're stronger together." But before she could reassure them further, a loud crash resounded from behind, the door shuddering ominously as something far more furious rattled against it. "What have we awakened?" Lisa gasped, eyes wide with fear. Without warning, the door burst open, and a whirlwind of shadows poured into the corridor, relentless and hungry. Claire and her friends staggered backward as the creature's laughter echoed, a cold and mocking sound. "Did you think you could escape so easily?" The darkness surged forward, relentless, derailing their moment of triumph. Tendrils reached out, wrapping around their legs, pulling them back toward the abyss. "We can't go back. Fight it!" Claire screamed, summoning every ounce of strength. "We'll face this together." But as they struggled against the darkness, another horrifying realization dawned on Claire: the shadows weren't just driven by anger, they were feeding off her fear, the very thing she had tried to escape. What dark force had they truly unleashed upon themselves? With panic threatening to drown her resolve, Claire understood that the true battle was yet to come. They had awakened something ancient, something that would test the very limits of their courage. "Ready or not, here it comes," Claire whispered, as the shadows coiled tighter. There was no turning back now. What else lay before them in the depths of the darkness? The final confrontation had begun, and she wasn't sure if they'd emerge whole. The shadows twisted around them, tearing at their resolve like wolves circling prey. Claire could feel the chill creeping deeper, clawing at her insides as fear pulsed through her veins. "No! We can't let it take us," she shouted, her voice ringing with determination. "Claire! Hold on to me!" Sam shouted through clenched teeth, pulling her back against him. The pull of the shadows was fierce, a heavy weight that threatened to drag them down. Lisa scrambled to her side, gripping Claire's arm tightly, her eyes wide with panic. "We need a plan," Lisa gasped, struggling to keep her voice steady as a dark tendril wrapped around her ankle, its texture slick and cold. Claire fought to think against the mounting terror. She couldn't allow the shadows to consume them. "We need to find something, anything that can fight back." Instinct took over. They raced through the passageway, feet pounding into the ancient stone beneath them. The cold seemed to seep into their bones, each second twisting hope into deeper uncertainty. As they ran, the torches flickered wildly, their light flickering like a dying heartbeat. Shadows darted between the flames, taunting them, whispering secrets that curled through the air like smoke. It was a desperate chase, but they had one advantage: the shadows and the light were weaker. "We need to keep moving toward the light," Claire yelled, straining against the darkness encroaching on all sides. Just then, she spotted something gleaming ahead, an altar at the end of the corridor. It was small and battered, but it radiated light, a beacon of defiance against the suffocating blackness. "There! We can use it!" Claire felt an urge pulse through her, a flicker of hope bursting in her chest. "Keep running!" Sam exclaimed, still pulling Claire forward as Lisa struggled against the tightening grip of the shadows. Sweat glistened on their foreheads, their breath coming in ragged gasps as they surged forward. They reached the altar, and Clara's fingers brushed against the cool surface. It was covered in strange symbols, and at its center lay a small, shattered relic, what remained of some sort of weapon. It looked ancient yet powerful. "Can you feel that?" Lisa gasped, her eyes darting around as she leaned against the altar. "It's vibrating." "Because it knows," Claire whispered, her heart racing. "It knows we're fighting back." With a deep breath, she clutched the relic in her hands, closing her eyes as she focused on their shared strength. "We're not afraid anymore. We are together." At her words, the shadows hesitated, as if recoiling from an unseen force. Claire could feel a surge of energy, rippling through her fingertips and into the relic. "Keep your fear focused," Sam shouted. "We can push it back." The shadows winced at the brightening glow of the altar, screeching an eerie symphony as if it were reliving their darkest memories. Claire opened her eyes, a fierce fire igniting within. "You think you can break us? You're wrong." Just as she unleashed the energy into the relic, the shadows flailed and shrieked, a cacophony of anger and desperation. The shadows began to retreat. But then, one massive shadow lunged forward, a monstrous beast with eyes like molten lava. "You think it will protect you?" It bellowed, the very air vibrating with its fury. It swept a clawed hand toward them, intending to snatch back the light. Claire's heart raced. "Now! Together!" With a united shout, the three of them pressed against the relic, channeling their fear, pain, and strength into a singular pulse of light. It flared alive, a blinding force that shot through the corridor, pushing back the darkness. But just as victory seemed near, Claire felt something rippling through the energy, an ominous presence. It knew they were fighting. Then, the connection shattered, and the light flickered. Claire gasped, as the shadows surged forth once more, even angrier, more determined. A voice echoed in the chaos: "You cannot escape this. You belong to us." With shock embedding itself deep within her, Claire realized their fight had only just begun. In the eye of the Storm, more was hidden than they could ever imagine. Was the relic truly a weapon? Or had they just awakened something that could consume them all? In that moment of uncertainty, Claire steeled herself. Let's hold on, there's more we can do. But as the shadows swarmed around them again, one question burned in her mind: what if this time, the darkness was ready to claim its prize? The shadows lunged like a pack of wild animals, their whispers slithering into Claire's mind like the poison of 1,000 serpents. Panic clawed at her throat as she felt the oppressive weight of their presence, the air thick with despair. She tightened her grip on the relic, its surface warm against her palm, sending a jolt of energy racing through her. "Focus!" Sam shouted, his voice cutting through the hysteria. The determination in his eyes ignited a spark of courage within her. They had to press on. They had to make this light last. As the darkness twisted around them, Claire could see the shadows morphing into grotesque forms, twisted faces, clawed hands, ancient tormented souls bound to an eternal hunger for fear and despair. Lisa, still beside her, stifled a whimper, her face pale, reflecting the terror surrounding them. "What do we do?" Lisa gasped, her voice trembling. The pulsing relic in Claire's hand felt alive, almost like it was whispering its own secrets. Looking into Lisa's eyes, Claire saw the same questions reflected back. What was this relic truly capable of? "I don't know, but we can't panic," Claire replied, forcing her voice to remain steady. We have to believe it's our only chance." The massive shadow, its eyes blazing with anger, roared once more, shaking the very foundations of the corridor. "You will suffer, little lightkeepers. You cannot escape the darkness." It lunged forward, claws glinting like daggers. Without thinking, Claire lifted the relic as if to ward it off. In that moment, a scarlet flame ignited at its center. The shadow screeched, recoiling from the sudden brightness. Claire felt the energy pulse through her, resonating with the fear and hope swirling within her chest. "Now! Give it everything we've got." They pressed their hands against the relic together, voices united in a single desperate chant. The glow intensified, illuminating the corridor in brilliant light, forcing the shadows to the fringes. But the deeper they pushed, the stronger the malevolent force grew. The darkness began to swirl, coiling like a storm, gathering strength and ferocity. "Claire! It's fighting back!" Sam shouted, his voice strained. Claire's heart sank as she felt the pulsating power within the relic start to flicker, the flame dimming. "No, no! Don't give in!" Claire yelled, her desperation spilling over. She could almost hear the entities of the shadows shrieking in fury and fear, merging their voices into a chilling cacophony. "Think of the light. Think of what matters," Claire pleaded, her thoughts racing. What did she value most? The answer came swiftly, pulling her back from the precipice of despair. Family, friendship, hope. With renewed determination, she shouted their shared beliefs proudly. The relic responded, the red glow enveloping them like a protective barrier. The shadows lunged at them, their malicious glee palpable, but Claire felt the energy become a wall of brilliance, reinforcing itself with every spoken word. Suddenly, the air crackled as one last surge swept through them. It was primal yet pure, a visceral force that transformed the very essence of their shared struggle. And then, just as it seemed they had breached the threshold to safety, a piercing scream erupted from the depths of the darkness, a sound that was haunting, a sound that echoed with anguish. With a final push, the relic exploded with light, casting back the shadows momentarily, but what emerged from the dark swarm was something unexpected. A figure, cloaked in the very essence of shadow, stepped forward as if summoned by their combined light. Its voice was smooth and sinister, a mocking tone dripping with expectation. "You believe you can challenge this realm? You think a trinket will save you?" It taunted, stepping closer, the darkness swirling about its form. "You are too late. The game has only just begun." Claire's throat tightened. It wasn't over. An icy chill seeped back into the air, heavier than before, pressing down on her. As the shadow figure stretched its hand toward them, the echo of its laughter reverberated through the hall. "Let us see if you can handle the truth, or fall into deeper darkness." Fear paralyzed her for a split second. The shadows regrouped, ready to descend again, and Claire knew they were still at the edge of a terrifying abyss, teetering right on the brink. "Hold firm!" she cried, battling the doubt. "We can't give up." But in that moment, doubt wormed its way into her mind again. What if this new presence was the key to the hidden truths they had been unearthing? The real fight was just beginning, and somewhere in the churning darkness, something waiting to be activated might either save them or doom their fates forever. "Get ready!" Sam warned, as the shadows swirled again. A fierce resolve burned within Claire, but dread lurked just beyond. Would they unleash a power to protect them, or something far more sinister? The wind howled like a wild beast, rattling the door of the mausoleum and sending echoes of despair swirling in the enclosed space. Claire's heart raced as the shadows gathered once more, forming a swirling mass that glinted with malicious intent. Their banter, dark and taunting, filled the air. "You think you can find hope here? There's no light in shadows." The figure slithered closer, its voice a sickly sweet venom. With sheer grit, Claire tightened her grip around the relic. "No. We believe. We remember what love feels like," she shouted, igniting the energy coursing through the shattered piece, feeling its warmth swell, shedding light into the suffocating dark. The shadows hesitated, screeching as the energy expanded outward, the relic glowing fiercely against the encroaching darkness. Sam and Lisa braced beside her, their faces etched with fear but ignited by determination. "We're stronger together." Sam's voice rang out, sending charged vibrations through the thick air. "Together!" Lisa echoed, her spirit a flicker of flame against the dark tide. As they raised their hands toward the relic, lines of light erupted from its core, illuminating the mausoleum in a brilliant blaze. The shadows recoiled, snarling and screeching, writhing like snakes in a furious storm. "No!" the creature gasped, its form shuddering as the warmth washed over it. "You think you can escape this fate?" But Claire saw clarity among the tumult, an opportunity sparkling amidst the chaos. "This isn't just about escaping. It's about freeing those you've trapped," she declared, her voice stronger now, emboldened by the gathering strength of her friends. "You've held them hostage through fear for too long." In that instant, the shadows paused, uncertainty flashing across their twisted faces. It was enough for Claire to push through the weight of fear, channeling everything she held dear into the relic. "Let them go!" Claire erupted, and the beam of light surged forth, blasting away the dark tendrils that sought to restrain them. They coalesced into a blinding array of colors, breaking free from the shadows and reclaiming the lost spirits of the children. Claire's heart raced as familiar faces emerged, flickering like beacons. Some of the children stepped forward, their joy a stark contrast to the haunting despair they had shared moments before. "Help us," one child urged, reaching out, their eyes filled with gratitude. "Light can break the chains," another whispered, the warmth of courage flooding Claire with hope. With every ounce of strength, Claire, Sam, and Lisa unleashed all their shared memories, reinforcing the bond that united them against the dark. "You're not alone anymore," Claire shouted, tears streaming down her face as the beam of brightness enveloped both the children and the dark creature, illuminating their anguish and fears. In that radiant moment, the shadow figure convulsed, their mocking tone replaced with raw anger. "You may have a moment of light, but darkness is eternal," it screeched, lashing out. But in that split second, the energy of unity swelled, peaking at its zenith. The shadows began to recede, writhing against the force of their collective spirit. The relic's light pulsated, overpowering all darkness, washing over Cedar Creek like a new dawn. The shadows cried out once more, but the terrors echoing through the night weakened, swallowed by their own consumed fear. And then, with one final surge of brilliance, a wave broke, flooding the mausoleum in white light, dissolving the shadows. They screamed, a cacophony of anguish fading into nothingness. The last remnants of darkness shattered around them, finally revealing the fresh air of night and the moon's gentle glow over the cemetery. Staggered, Claire and her friends stood together, panting, their sweat minged with tears of relief, disbelief coursing through them. The relic, now glowing softly, pulsed in Claire's hands, a reminder of their hard-won victory. The haunting echoes of lost souls faded, and for the first time, silence descended upon Cedar Creek. They had done it. "I can't believe we actually made it," Lisa whispered, still trembling from the intensity of the moment. Claire smiled through her tears, taking a deep breath, her chest lightening from the burden they had shared. "We faced the darkness together." Sam wrapped an arm around both of them, pulling them close, hearts pounding in unison with joy and relief. "And we'll keep facing it," he added softly, determination flickering in his eyes. "As long as we stand together, there is nothing we can't overcome." In that moment, hope surged through Clara's veins, a reminder that true strength lies in imperfection bound by love, friendship, and dreams that refuse to fade. As the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, the trio walked back towards Cedar Creek, leaving the shadows behind, but forever changed. They would always stand guard against darkness together. And now, it's your turn to join the journey. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that shed light on the unknown. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the light shining bright. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ride. What did you think of Claire and her friend's incredible struggle? And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share the light.